Hi, this is Ann with Graphic Design How To, and today I'm going to talk to you about a piece of hardware for creatives, the Tourbox Neo, and that is this right here. And this is actually something that I never even heard of before their company rep reached out to me. In fact, I didn't even know this type of thing existed. Basically what it does is all these little buttons can be programmed to kind of replace your keyboard shortcuts. So if you use a lot of keyboard shortcuts and you're having to hold down like 4 keys at once on your keyboard, you can replace that with just one button here. Also, before we get too much further, I want to mention that I did get my Tourbox for free in return for doing an honest review about it. And I also want to let you know the price, which is about $170 or $180. $180 if you want a cool little carrying case for it. All right, let's get started. So here's how the Tourbox comes in the mail. We'll just take the box off, and it's got this little tray. And then there are 2 pouches inside. If we open one, we'll see the Tourbox. And here it is. It's got a really nice weight to it, and it has a lot of little dials that are really cool. A really nice matte finish, and then it really looks kind of like a video game controller. And the point of this box is to replace your keyboard shortcuts in your creative programs like Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator or in Lightroom. And there are a ton of other presets, so you can use it in almost any program. In our other little pouch, we have a nice little braided cord for the Tourbox Neo. And although it is really nice, I was a little bummed to see this because I was hoping the Tourbox would be cordless. My MacBook Pro only has 2 USB slots and they are almost always full. So that's definitely a thing that I think they could improve in the future. Now first you'll have to download software, so I'm going to go over to tourboxtech.com. Then we can go to downloads right up here and go to software. And then you'll use the Mac OS download or the Windows download, depending on your system, of course. And it's the normal way to install any software. So after I downloaded the software, I plugged in the Tourbox and started up the software. And then I also had to update my firmware. So after you've done that, you'll get a control panel. And this control panel is really easy to use so that you can program these buttons to do different things if you want to. Now your Tourbox will already come preset with Photoshop, Lightroom, and Premiere, but you can easily go out and get the Illustrator preset, and to get that, all you have to do is go back to the website, come up here to Downloads, and choose Presets. And here are all the different programs that they have presets set up for. So we can just choose Illustrator, and then the system is Mac for this one and Windows over here. To import that, you could just come over here to Import Presets, and then search for the file that you downloaded. Now when I was first getting everything set up, I could not get the Tourbox to actually work with my computer in Illustrator. So finally I decided to just shut down. I thought maybe restarting my computer would fix it. And when I shut all my windows down, I noticed that there was a System Preferences dialog box in the background that was asking me to make the changes, click the lock and accept changes from Tourbox. And that's what fixed it. You probably won't really actually need to restart your computer. So my main program that I use every day with a lot of keyboard shortcuts is Illustrator. So I'm going to show you how to use this with Illustrator. First you'll need to install the preset that I showed you earlier, and then you'll definitely need to set up the Tourbox however you want it. So let's go back to the console. So I've chosen Illustrator over here. Any button I hit on the Tourbox, for example, I'm clicking this button right here, it will jump to this part over here on the preset, and that's really nice. You can easily find the button that you want to program. So I programmed this to escape, so if I wanted to program this to something else, I could just click it. Let's say I wanted to do Shift Option Command D. That's Control Alt Shift D on a PC, and that'll transform objects. So all I have to do is just hold all those keys down and they automatically populate right up here in the shortcut. And then I'll say OK. So if I come out here to Illustrator and I get on my rectangle tool, I'm clicking this button on the controller right now to get to my rectangle tool right over here. So I have that one programmed to M. And then I draw this, and I draw a few little ones with my mouse. I can select all of those. Then I'll hit that top button on the Tourbox that I just programmed. And that'll bring me to transform each. And we could maybe put an angle on these, make them a little bigger. If we uncheck preview, you can see what's happened. And we'll say OK. So I can do that just by hitting the top button. I don't have to hold down 4 keys on my keyboard to get to that one shortcut. Now, one thing that I think makes the Tourbox a game changer as far as keyboard shortcuts are these little scroll wheels. Now, you can program these to do whatever you want. This one here will automatically increase or decrease your brush size. So if I get on my brush and then use that scroll wheel, you can see the brush size getting bigger and smaller just as I move this wheel up and down. Now this one over here, I decided to set to my arrow keys. If I scroll to the right, it's like using my up arrow, and if I scroll to the left, it's like using my down arrow. So if I draw something and I select it, I can get into one of these stroke areas like this and then use this wheel to increase that stroke or decrease it really easily. These are functions that you really cannot do in Illustrator that easily without the Tourbox. And then finally, this last scroll wheel, I programmed it to zoom in and zoom out just like hitting Command plus and Command minus. If I roll it down, we zoom in. If I roll it up, we zoom out. And it'll zoom based on what you have selected. Now, if you use a ton of shortcuts in your workflow, you're going to need to give the Tourbox a chance. And by giving it a chance, I mean using it for 40 hours before giving up on it. It's really similar to getting the feel for a Wacom tablet. Almost everyone I know wants to give up within 8 hours of using it. But if you stick it out and give it 40 full hours, you'll be so used to it that it can be a replacement for your keyboard shortcuts. So let's go over a few of the things I really love about the Tourbox. I love that I can just hit a button and have my preferences come up. In the default preset, hitting this button will automatically make my preferences come up, so just like this, which is so nice because I'm always getting in there to change my keyboard increment, which is this right here. It changes how much your mouse will move using your arrow keys. I also really love these 3 scroll wheels. Another cool thing about them is you can just press them and have a different function set for that. So you can press down on this and you can also move it right and left to increase or decrease whatever you have it set to. That is pretty awesome. Now there are a few things that I don't love about the Tourbox. One of those I already mentioned, it's that it's not cordless. So I would love in the future, maybe a future version, to be cordless. Another thing I noticed is when you're in a text box, if you happen to hit this scroll wheel, you'll see that it's actually typing that keyboard shortcut, which is the increase and decrease brush size keyboard shortcut. So it would be nice if they found a way to disable the Tourbox while inside a text box. One workaround for this is to set one of these buttons as an escape key or like a deselect all keyboard shortcut, and that way you can just jump out of the text box if you need to change your brush size or something like that. Overall, if you're just starting out in graphic design, I think the Tourbox would be really great to help you speed up your workflow. Plus, you aren't already in the habit of just using keyboard shortcuts for everything. If you're an intermediate or advanced user, like I said earlier, you're definitely going to have to put something like 40 hours into using the Tourbox before giving up on it in order to really get used to using those little buttons instead of your keyboard shortcuts. But because of those scroll wheels, I do think the Tourbox can be a game changer. Alright, I hope this video has helped you make a decision about whether you want a Tourbox yourself or not. If you do, there's a discount code in the description below. Alright, I'll see you next week with another graphic design video. Thank you!